Hello and welcome. This is a bit off the wall, but I just thought up this video after looking through some old photos of Hong Kong, where I lived previously. But this video is more about the idea of a dystopian wall. It always looks really cool in fantasy, in sci-fi. So hear me out here. In the early 1980s, my friend used to buy 2000 AD, and Judge Dredd and Mega City 1 was, just amazing. The whole thing of the judges, the wall, what was behind the wall in the city. It's absolute chaos in there, and then you just have these like giant monolithic silent walls, so you wouldn't know. And then the whole thing of the judges and going out into the cursed earth, going beyond the boundaries of the city's enormous walls. I thought it was just mind-blowing. And I grew up in the later part of the Cold War in Europe. I knew about Germany's Berlin Wall and the whole Iron Curtain. That was part of just like life, and of course that fed into Judge Dredd too. It wasn't blatant, but I understood the references were there. I'm sure there were Judge Dredd episodes where there was an Eastern European, Eastern German Judge Dredd. I'm sure I'm not making that up. I love the fantasy and sci-fi thing of these huge walls, huge barriers. Not in real life, of course. I wouldn't like the reality of it, but in fiction, it's the imagery of it. And with the 2000 AD, with Mega City 1, you've got the chaos, the nightmare of it all. But then you've got to go outside the city, where no one wants to go. You've got cursed earth, which is obviously even worse in most places than in Mega City 1. And there's the culture of the law. It's iconic. The judges, I love the way the judges who retired, they don't get a pension or put their feet up. They could choose or were sent on the long walk, and they leave the city, and then they try and bring justice to the cursed lands outside. The cursed earth. And of course, much later than that, we've got the Game of Thrones, The Wall. Winter is coming. And again, it's based very much, I think, on, it's in the north of the country. It's like based on Hadrian's Wall, but obviously the scale is no comparison, even at its height during the Roman times. And, they're holding back, like only a few men, go, and they're holding back this dark horde of, the undead. Really, really good. And in the same way, very similar, I feel like, with the judges going to cursed earth, and they're going out of the wall, whereas here they're standing at the wall trying to protect the rest. And this was also really interesting as well. I felt the Borg in Star Trek, assimilate or die. And there was a lot of references. I mean, the imagery of this, it reminded me very much of, like, in Hong Kong, there was the Forbidden City, the Kowloon Walled City, which was this is, I think, in the 1980s. It was knocked down in about 1994, but it had been there for like 100 years, and it's this like huge 14 stories high, little space between buildings, again, something really like out of Cyberpunk or Judge Dredd, like 30 to 50, 50,000 residents, packed inside, and and it was Chinese territory. The British weren't supposed to go in there. It was like a lot, it started out as a walled city, and the British weren't supposed to go in. I think they did. I heard about like police raids, but you're not supposed to go in, and it's all sort of run by the triads and the gangs, and so really, really amazing imagery there. And a friend of mine took me right up to the border with the mainland, and so there's this like we were there's a police shooting range, and it's right in the middle of this small village. So when the police aren't there, the villagers use it as a park, and we were allowed to go there and fly our drones. But you've got this, so this is like this is right up in the north, just behind the hills there. There's some paddy fields, and then there's the river, and on the other side of the river is the mainland, and it's like Shenzhen, this like huge modern like new city that's just appeared over the last couple of decades. Over 20 million people are there, and the only thing reflects the boundary here is the river. So you have this, like on one side you've just got these like small paddy fields and small villages, a lot of them are abandoned, and then you just look, and then you've just got this whole cityscape right on the border. It just looks like a wall as well. Very impressive. It's a really interesting place to visit, but it is something out of sci-fi to me. And thank you for listening to my Barmy Army